Hello, Will Thunder Talks here with another video. So I'm going to reflect on a little doodle dandle today. I'm a guy from the UK, and I ask questions and I do a think. And if you guys want to listen and throw your takes at me, do it also. But my take here is, do we actually live in the safest time in human history right now? So I think this might be a hard take for a lot of people to understand and land. Probably not understand, but like feel like that's true, right? That we live in a really safe time right now where, you know, in my social media bubble, there's concerns about, you know, fascism and the war going on in Iran, another damn war. I hate wars. You might be like, well, that's insane. What do you mean the safest time? I feel like social media really pushes the extremes, right? That's my belief. So now more than ever, we're shown more and more of the extremes, more and more of the insane stuff, right? But because we're all spooked so much about all the worst case scenarios, and I think we're more aware generally of like other human experiences, because we just have more information about like what it's like for other people, that like there's a lot less crime than there was previously. Like a lot less crime, right? Like there's crime, don't get me wrong, there's still crime still happens. I don't know if there's ever going to be a time where there isn't crime full stop. I don't think that's possible. I think in an unfair system, crime is an unfortunate necessity, because I think the powers that be do not give local communities what they need to thrive and survive. So crime happens. That's my take. But I say this because I used to think, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't know about a lot of crime. It wasn't really like I'm pre-internet. I'm a pre-internet individual, but only barely, right? So I grew up in the very, very early days of the internet. I'm 31 now, so I grew up with the old dial-up modems in the 90s, and it beep 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 when I was like 5. And everything was slow. Information was slow. We didn't know how bad things were, quote unquote. But I think in a way that created an environment where like more crime could happen than we probably were aware of at the time. And now like we know so much more. There's so much more information around about like what people are doing, why people are doing it, the most awful things. You know, a whole genre of television is crime dramas and serial killer documentaries. Like we know more than ever about like the intense extremes people go to and how much they kill people, and that's scary, right? That makes us think, oh, everything's unsafe, and like we have to be on high alert, right, if we're exposed to that kind of extreme stuff. And I can also empathize with people that like engage in that content a lot because they like there's a safety in knowing, right? There's a safety in having more information to hopefully prevent something like that happening to you or people you care about. Or you're just mad morbidly curious. That's also an option too, or you feel any other way about it. That's also all fine. But I just feel like actually there's not a lot of crime happens. And maybe this is just a really privileged take. Maybe I'm crazy privileged to just happen to be in an area where a ton of crime doesn't happen. The bits of crime happen where I live. I live in a place where there's a moderate level of crime. I hear about crimes happening near me. People stealing and robbing and sex trafficking and drug trafficking and stuff like that. I hear about that stuff happening in my town. That's not like an uncommon thing to hear. But on the whole, like I can walk the streets. I can, maybe again this is a privileged British take, but I can walk the streets and like I don't feel like someone's gonna stab me. I don't feel like I'm gonna be robbed. Might be a white man take again. I don't feel like, and I don't see that a lot. And a lot of the crime statistics I feel like I hear are like, hey, like crime is kind of trending downwards, but fear of crime is trending upwards, right? So in my head, like that kind of maps to my experience, that a lot of people feel more afraid of crime than ever but like a lot less crime is happening to people. In terms of physical crimes, I think there's a lot of cyber crimes that happen, a lot of scams online. And if I were to put my criminal cap on here, I think that makes sense, because I mean, you're protecting, you're kind of reducing the risk as a criminal if you're doing online stealing versus in-person stealing, if you have the skills and ability to engage in those. Though AI is bridging that gap significantly, I would argue, with the voice reproductions and all of that fun stuff. But I kind of say, you know, I think back to even before when I was alive, way before I was alive. I'm not that old, guys. I think about the 1970s. I think the 70s weren't that safe. You know, I think about all the paedophiles that were around and all the crime that happened then. And I'm talking in a UK context, of course. In the 70s and in the 80s, there was crime. There was a lot of crime. There was a lot of coke. There was a lot of gangs. There was a lot of riots and stuff. And in the 90s, it kind of chilled out a bit in the UK, but there was still a good amount of crime. And then in the noughties, when I was alive and young, I remember going when I was a kid. I went to a town, the town near the village I lived, and we dropped a cuddly toy out the car. We were in like a rougher part of the town, and my sister dropped a cuddly toy out the car, and we didn't even notice. We were kind of mucking around in the car, and then my sister was like, "Where's my cuddly toy?" And then we looked out the car, and somebody had robbed it. Somebody nicked it. Somebody took it. And we were literally still in the car, but we just didn't notice it fell out. And somebody nicked it, and they were off. I've dropped stuff out my car recently. I've left my phone at the gym. Nobody's nicked that. And I guess I just kind of compare that, because now everything's so much more trackable. Everything's so much more traceable. You've got to be really crafty as a criminal these days, I feel. I think it's not that I'm saying woe's the criminals, what will they do, how will they steal, how will they cause harm. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there's way more risk. It was way easier to get caught these days, I feel, doing anything. There's so many ways you could get caught. So, and that's just stealing. Never mind violent crimes, never mind rape, never mind robbery. And I love that there are loads of movements that are rape bad, violence to women bad, genital mutilation bad, all that stuff bad. That is bad. Don't do that. But I think the heightened awareness of all of this, people being more aware of the signs, a lot of the campaigns that kind of come out, drugs are bad, all that stuff is compounded into very crime averse generally in the UK for a long time. I feel like now it's often a battle of screw you have a different idea to me of how the country should work. We're having a political debate, but back in the day of the IRA and socialist kind of and right-wing protests. I went to a socialist protest last May, so almost a year ago now, and fascists showed up, and what I've heard from really old school socialists are they would be going fisticuffs. They would be flying in and beating the crap out of fascists, and fascists would be fighting them back, right? They have basically a freaking brawl in the middle of a city centre, right? That didn't happen. We stood there and said, we chanted at them and we're you guys suck. And then they were no, you. And the police were there and they were we're watching you guys, don't do nothing. And then nothing happened. Not that I wanted to fight. I ain't a fighter. I'm a little cuddly bear guy. I'm the least violent human. I hate violence. It messes my head up. But I can't even do violence-based sports like boxing. I literally do no, can't handle it. Psychologically, I'm just not built that way. But I just compare it to historically how people have engaged in conflicts and done things that are illegal And in my anecdotal experience and some of what the data says is actually we live in a very safe time of relative stability in terms of active crimes. Economically, it's been chaotic as hell. And we haven't had any freaking economic stability. Another one crisis after another bullshit. Petrol prices just went down after Ukraine, and they were back up because of freaking Iran. I'm so glad I got a cheaper car now. I got a Toyota Yaris instead of an MGHS, and the mileage is amazing. It was an absolute clutch change. I had no idea what was going to happen. So, cool. But yeah, man, it's easy to just sit in our bubbles and be like, I guess everything sucks. And stuff does suck, but also we're safer. I can walk around the streets. People are generally okay. Sometimes crimes happen, which will happen forever. But, you know, improvements have been made. I think it's important to acknowledge that sometimes. But also, we need to do better. You know, don't drop the ball. Crime bad, but crime happened. That's my take. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the chat. I've been Will, Thunder Talks. You've been wonderful. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.